So Seven's World has just released in Duel Links, which means you can now play Rush Duels within Duel Links, which is fantastic. But the question becomes, if you've never played Duel Links before, how easy is it to actually get in and start playing some Rush Duels? To try and answer this question, I made a fresh Duel Links account, jumped straight in, and found out how long it takes to get into Rush Duels and actually start playing them, as well as what kind of a start you can expect, how many gems you can get early, what kind of deck you can build, and what you can realistically have going into your first ranked game. So first off, actually getting to Seven's World. Now this is the first kind of, I guess, mini problem or like point of failure for the game, which is when you jump in, the game forces you to choose between Yugi and Kaiba and then play through a tutorial for regular speed duel. Now this isn't inherently a bad thing, but if you've come here specifically for Rush Duels, you will have to play through this. The next thing you'll have to do is get up to stage 4 of the regular Duel Monsters world. This again isn't too bad because it teaches you the fundamentals of the game, it teaches you what the shop is, it teaches you some of the basics of how to actually use the game. But again, it would be nice if we went straight into Seven's World as a Rush only player and could immediately start doing this with the Rush characters. But yeah, you have to unlock Joey, you have to again raise the stage up to level 4, and then finally you will be allowed to download the rest of the game, because again, the first initial install doesn't have all the cards in it, doesn't have all the content, it just has the basic tutorial there. Then you have to install the rest of the game, at which point you can then go to the shop, go to the new Sevens box, unlock the world, and then you can finally get into Rush Duels. So the first thing you'll have to do is complete the tutorial with yugioh and Luke, and then it will throw you straight in. She went to the shop and bought the Lightning Volt Condor structure deck. So the game gives you one free copy of this deck, as well as 10 free pulls of Seven's New Road, which is the first Rush Duel booster box. So just with these alone, we were able to build a decent-ish deck. And this took us about an hour and a half to get to this stage, to have these cards in our collection, and to be able to fire on into ranked with basically an okay deck. Realistically, this deck is very incomplete. We'd have to collect the third copy of the deck to kind of finish it off, as well as get a handful of cards from the booster box. But this was enough to basically say we can play ranked, we can win games with this deck, and we can probably get to something like silver. After playing a few games with this deck, we decided, okay, let's use the gems that the game's given us. So just for being a new player and having the Seven's World release campaign, the game gave us about 4,000 gems. Now this is quite a decent amount of gems. On top of this, we get the Dark Magician Prismatic card, as well as one ultra rare Prismatic from the Seven's New Road box. So we opened that and we got very lucky and got ourselves a Dragius. This is a staple in Rush Duel and a fantastic card, especially at this point in the game. We then went and purchased the Summon Skull bundle, which gets us another good legend monster in the Summon Skull and 17 new Seven's Road booster packs, which again, fantastic. So we opened all of these, as well as spent the rest of our gems buying booster packs from the set, and we came up with quite a good stuff pile deck. We actually weren't expecting to pull as many ultra rares as we did, or to get the Dragius, so we were planning to basically just use these cards to supplement our Volt Condor strategy. But in hindsight, we really shouldn't have bought the second Volt Condor deck, and we should have just had a good stuff pile from this set. Basically, with 2 Dragius, Prima Katana, Seven's Road Magician, we had everything we needed to be able to build a semi-competitive ladder deck. Now obviously it wasn't a constructed level tournament deck, but it was very good and easily enough for us to get gold and possibly King of Games with. So the cards that you would basically be looking for are any of the 1500 vanillas. Thunder the Thunder is a fantastic staple. Any of the main character ultra rares are really good and can carry a deck on their own. Any monster with 2500 attack is generally going to be okay if we don't have enough of the correct boss monster. And finally, Spice the Elite Noodle Ninja is also a really good free-to-play friendly card. It's a super rare that can get supported with just another 6 commons, which means it's quite easy to amass all 9 of these cards, slot them into your deck, and have it as a competent boss monster that is good enough to play in ranked duels. But yeah, the primary ultra rares we're looking for from here is Multi-Strike Dragon Dragius. This is always going to be a fantastic boss monster. 2500 attack is great, being able to attack twice is great, and this card is probably never going to be bad. The next best one is probably Seven's Road Magician. It's a little bit funkier to use because you have to accumulate all of the different attributes in your graveyard to get the maximum benefit of this card. But again, it is a very strong boss monster, and again, will never stop being good. Then Prima Katana, again, a fantastic card. It supports Dragius very well. It also just boosts any of your monsters, although it does cost 1000 life points to use, so it is a little bit risky. And then finally, Yami Ruler, a 2500 attack, 2500 defense monster is always going to be useful. Just having very high stats is very good. as well as the fact that its effect can be very good at stopping your opponent from playing the game. It stops your opponent from tribute summoning level 7 and 8 monsters on the following turn, which means if they don't have an out to its 2500 defense, they kind of can't really play the game and they get floodgated out a little bit. So very, very strong. All 4 of these are the main 7's casts boss monsters and are all very worth collecting and all very, very powerful. I guess one other thing I would say would be that if you collect one of these cards, or specifically Dragius, very early in the box, resetting the box is probably a good idea, because then you have another chance to pull one of those very, very good cards. And in general, what we're trying to do is just build a good stuff pile that is good enough to get into ranked with, and then we can start branching out from there to build the decks that we actually want to build, the decks that we want to take to tournaments, maybe the pet decks that we want to build in the future, something like Psychic, something like Warriors, and go from there. From these cards, we forged a deck, jumped into ranked, and within about an hour and a half, easily climbed the way up to silver, only losing a handful of games due to bricking. This deck could easily, I think, make it all the way up to gold, and we probably will progress that in the future. But this just goes to show that even a fresh account can jump straight into Rush, can build a competent deck, and push to those high ranks. So if you were on the fence about whether or not you should try out Rush Duel Links, I say jump in, give it a go. It's not as intimidating as it might seem. Initially, I thought it might not be doable, because my account, for example, and some of my friends' accounts who've jumped back in, already had pre-existing accounts, which means they already had keys to challenge people at the gate, they already had leftover gems, they already had a bit of a leg up going into this. Another one of my friends has jumped in with a fresh account and is enjoying it, they're loving it. Again, they haven't quite finished a fully constructed deck, they don't have full playsets or the ultras yet, but their deck is extremely competitive and they are able to push high ranks. But yeah, this was just a little video as kind of a little experiment. We were playing this on stream and we just wanted to try this little challenge, see how far we could push with it. And in the one streaming session, like we said, we did get to mid-silver and we were quite happy with our results. Again, we have been streaming over at twitch.tv/Tomatosaurs every Tuesday and Thursday. If you want to catch the stream and see us doing anything more like this, then please feel free to stop by. Anyway, this is it for today's video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.